So we're just going to get our YouTube streaming, Facebook streaming, right? And then we start the show. Hang on. We're just going to get our YouTube. Okay. All right, so we do the first 28 minutes, and then you'll be joining us for the second half. So if you want, you could mute your video and audio now, and then we'll be calling you in, so you could just relax and watch us and listen, and then you'll be up to speed by the time you join us.
You want me to turn my camera off too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Camera and audio, and then we'll call you in about 28 minutes or so. Edward's just getting us streaming. Is it working?
All right.
Is it up? Okay.
What's up, man?
So I'm going to hit record.
Yeah, you see this? Bizarro, press record on Zoom.
I know. I got to highlight that.
I know.
All right. Welcome to The Funniest Thing.
Yes.
Where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes.
That is correct.
I'm Darrell.
I'm Ed.
And we're broadcasting live from Middle School Studios in beautiful downtown Culver City, the heart of Screenland.
That's right.
And what do we got going today, Ed? I'm very excited.
We got a great message for you, and it's simple. Go for it. Nobody's watching, with Lisa Schmidt. It's not what other people will think about you that holds you back from being yourself. It's what you think other people will think about you that's holding you back from being yourself. Don't let false pride get in the way of being yourself and experiencing the prosperity of being in your true place. Humility is the key that opens the door to your greater good, because humility is trusting your intuition enough to act on it. On this episode, Darrell and Ed discuss how to live free from self-doubt, fear of being unprepared, and step into our authentic selves with confidence. And during the second segment, Lisa Schmidt, backed by popular demand, motivates listeners to enjoy the freedom of being authentically themselves with today's reading, Free.
Oh, man, I was looking for one of the little write-ups. I don't know which is the most recent and on the photos.
Okay.
Because it's on my phone, but I can't open my phone because we're using it as a camera.
What is it?
It's this little writing here. Let's see if we could read it. No, that's not it. This is it.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. So what inspired this show was I sent someone a postcard. I make generic postcards all the time where I draw something on a blank, and then on the back I write something inspired or something from our readings. Well, this day I drew a guy on a collage, and it's a guy just looking at his phone, which seems to be everybody in public now. So I often think if, museums in the future, because, when you see Monet's and these beautiful, or Renaissance paintings, or, the Impressionist paintings of people, just out in parks, or, you see them sitting, and you see people walking.
Yes, yes.
Well, now everybody in the picture would be looking at their phones.
That's right.
So I drew a picture of a guy looking at his phone, and on the back, the note was, this makes it big, right?
Yeah.
The note said, "Go for it. Nobody's watching. Nobody's ever watching. They are preoccupied with their phones. So have fun. No need to be self-conscious. conscious.
Yes.
No need to be self-conscious. It's 2025. Finally, I'm free from inhibition without being drunk.
Yes.
And isn't that the truth? We got to take that. We got to remind ourselves that we're living in a time. I mean, we can complain. Everybody's on their phones, or we can go, wait a minute. I could finally really dance as if nobody's watching.
Yes.
And how liberating is that? You know, and that dance is just a metaphor for be yourself.
Right.
Be yourself.
Yeah, be yourself. I was thinking about what you wrote here about humility being the key that opens the door to your greater good, because humility is trusting your intuition enough to act on it.
Yes.
And for me, what that brought up is that we hear our inspired intuition, but then most of us have been trained to listen to this voice of fear. We call it rationality. That's telling us the safe route to take. So the humility is to realize that what God is, that I'm an expression of I'm a creative, imagining expression of the divine that is capable of whatever I really inspired and called to do. And the humility is actually the willingness to be wrong about the fears and doubts and worries that my rational mind will just plead with me. Don't you dare do that. This is, you know better. This is the right way. You're being irresponsible if you do that. And I have to have the humility to be like, I know that's what you're telling, that you were taught. I know, but thank you for bringing that my attention, as we said recently. But I just know that I can trust this voice, because this voice never lets me down. This when I follow this inspired voice, it always works, and I don't know how, but it works every time. But there's a humility, and there's actually a lightness to living this way, because when I follow this voice, which I'm getting better and better at doing, all the weight of like overthinking and which is really resisting life flowing through my body, when I stop resisting, like when I'm in a state of resistance, I think I need to try harder to get something that's missing. But the mystical, amazing mystery, secret key, like, Emmett Fox would call it the golden key, is to relax and trust that the divine is already present. It's the desperate need to think I need some. That's actually getting in the way of just letting that desire come through, because it wants to come through, because we are part of the creative. We are a valuable part of the creative process. We are not. We didn't come here to be beggars from like a God that's withholding. But I think that sometimes, because that's the world that that I was conditioned to believe as a reality. But thank God it is not true. And the only way to really experience it is to practice it, to live it. Darrell and I talk about this all the time. Like, we'll be like, well, why did this organization that's supposed to be teaching this go off the rails? Or why does that person who seems like that? But it's just, it always comes back to, we always agree, because we practice it ourselves and we know ourselves, that it's just because if you don't practice it yourself, you lose touch with the reality of it, because the old rational mind, the old subconscious patterning will take over again unless we continue to practice our morning routine, read these books, talk to our friends about what's going on, and continue to take inspired steps.
There's a great Chinese koan, Koan.
Oh, I thought you were about to tell me about that new ice cream place down the street.
No. And it's tension is who I think I should be.
Yes.
Relaxation is who I am. And now think about that. It's pretty clear. I was also have to remind myself that it's being humble. Sometimes we think is saying no. This is how twisted it gets. Humble, sometimes we think, is saying no to our intuition. And you got to realize this, first of all. Intuition is synonymous with your conscience. Conscience just means with knowing. And it's the knowledge of the God within, your intuition.
Yes.
And that conscience is always leading us to our authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
The problem sometimes is when we see other people who seem to be winning by pushing and shoving, confident in being, somewhat unscrupulous, but justifiably so.
Right.
We start, at least for me, when I start feeling like I can't act that way, my gut says, oh, you can't do that. You can't. Well, I'll
Right.
give a perfect example. I was just thinking about this. My problem was I had a very loud, good conscience as a child, but because my examples, I wasn't taught to be confident in trusting that.
Yes.
Because all my examples were confident in being unscrupulous. But any little act of being unscrupulous would create anxiety in me. So I thought I had to learn how to override my conscience in order to succeed in life.
Right.
I can give you tons of examples, but here's a clear example. When I was like probably 13 or 14, my father's friends, who were very good at being confident and unscrupulous. I mean, it was crazy. They could have mistresses and didn't
Right.
bother them at all.
Right.
Business dealings. Well, here's one in particular. So one of the guys who we loved, and they were kind and sweet guys to me and my brother. That was another thing that twisted us. But one of the guys had these stands down at the boardwalk. If you're not familiar with the East Coast, on the boardwalk, it's like a carnival. There's rides. It's better than Disneyland.
Right.
And there's all these games and
Yes.
prizes, and it's like a carnival that doesn't move, and it's on the beach, and it's heaven for a kid. So before the summer started, me and my brother were given the task of like cleaning up all these high-end prizes, because some of the stands, like these one-win choice, you win and you get to pick anything, and it had like top-of-the-line prizes. Back then, the Panasonic 8-track player that was portable, and it looked like a detonator for dynamite.
Wow.
We had those. We had Presto burgers. I mean, some of you old timers might remember this stuff.
What's a Presto burger?
Oh, it was one of these electric. You plug it in, you put in your meat, your
Oh, wow.
patty meat, and it was like
a Foreman grill.
it was a George Foreman before George Foreman.
Oh, wow.
And say you plug it in, open it up, and there's a perfect hamburger.
All right,
So
all
we
right.
had Presto burgers, all these things, and you play for a quarter, and if it lands on your number, but there's like 2,000 numbers on this, or names and numbers on the wheel.
Right.
So my brother and I, because we think we're do the right thing. So we're cleaning the stuff up because it's all dusty for the new season, and we're testing stuff, because that's what I thought we should do. And most of the stuff didn't work, or there'd be a piece missing in the back. So I asked my dad's friend, I don't know, I don't want to say names, but we'd ask because we love this guy. So we asked him, we informed him. We said, hey, some of this stuff, these things aren't working. Don't worry about it. And I felt so much like my conscience. I said, well, what if somebody wins?
Right.
He goes, nobody wins. Like, that's the answer. But so growing, and there was many, many more of these examples, but it kind of corrupted me to not trust my conscience, because
Right.
I was being told by everyone who I loved and looked up to that somehow that wasn't the right answer to live by.
Right. No, I hear that.
And now, I mean, thank goodness. The truth is, the proof is in the pudding, and that Chinese cone sums it up. If I'm anxious, it's because I'm being something that's going against my conscience, what I think I should be doing.
Yeah, trying very hard.
And it may seem reasonable because
Yeah.
that's what people around me are doing. And it doesn't have to be something unscrupulous. It could just be,
Well, I got an example of that for you, because you texted me the other day when I was in class, because I've been, once again re-examining what I want to be doing with my life and really getting excited for the next adventure. And you texted me like toward the end of the day, and I've been going into this guy's class because it's like on the kids' paperwork that I spend time in there. But a lot of times I'm literally like doing nothing. Like
Yeah.
I'm like trying to, and I started telling I started making it like an effort. There's something wrong with me. That's why I feel this way, because there's something wrong with me, and I got to try harder to find what to do instead of there's literally nothing for me to do, and I'm a professional.
Yeah.
But you texted me a message, and I could, nowadays I love on the Apple, because especially with Fazaro, you can read even if you can't hear it, you can read the transcript in real time. It'll show you, and it was talking about like, are you afraid, or are you at your desk because mommy said you should be, or whatever. It was something like that, And at first I was like, oh man, like, why is he, I don't know. I was a little resistant to it. And then I was like, wait a second. Let me just check in with myself here. This is a complete waste of my talents, man. I'm not inspired at all. I feel like I'm barely holding on, and that's the mark. Like, I'm going to make it through this.
Yeah.
And that is such an unhealthy mark, but it is very unscrupulous. It's so counter to living as myself in a happy and a free way. But we get used to it, and I have to actually check back in. Like, I've been experiencing like all these new sensations, and some of them feel really great, and some of them feel really bad at times. But it's because it's like I pulled off this Band-Aid of stuff that I was numb to before and was telling myself it was okay. And then I had so many realizations I've shared on the show. This is a healing science. So my life was like, okay, now that you're recognizing this is a healing science, now we can look at some of this other stuff that you need to let go of too, so that you can really keep moving forward and living a joyful life. So, I mean, this is an adventure that you really need to be dedicated to.
And the more we're ourselves and true to that voice,
yes,
our conscience,
yeah,
our intuition.
Did you say what conscience means again? Remind people.
Conscience means with science, with knowing. And it means your inner knowing, which is the God in you, the Christ in you.
Right, because the cone is like with in Latin.
In
cone science.
In your intuition. And we have to learn that it's never leading me astray. It's never leading me astray. Anytime I start feeling anxious, it's me leading myself astray.
Right.
And that's why sometimes we can feel ashamed because we've abandoned ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes a lot of courage to even acknowledge it. Even for me, it's like, I'm feeling this, and it's like, God, who do I even tell? What do I do? Like, and thankfully, I'm learning to just get still at those moments and say, okay, let me just relax. Maybe there's nothing to do, or maybe I just need a new idea that I'm not used to thinking. So just give myself, and I do a lot of Louise Hay now. Look, even in my car, I'll just look in the mirror and go, I approve of you. I love you. No matter what you need, I'll get it for you. You're good. And can I tell them about this right now?
Yeah.
This book Darrell recommends. You want to tell them again what it's called?
Creative Responsibility by C. Thomas Sicking.
It's the son of Sue Sicking?
Yes. And this book is a thin book that we highly recommend. I got to get a new copy because my binding broke.
Mine arrived last night, and I'm already like devouring it. It's such a light and direct read. I was telling Darrell, because I've been going through a lot of great expansion right now, and so I'm really sensitive to what I can listen to and read right now. And this is one of those books that's like, it's so direct. And the beauty of that is it reminds me, like, right here and now, I'm responsible. So there's something I can do. I can change, and because the voices of fear will be like, there's nothing you can do. It's too late. You're too old. Da, da, da. And he says, this chapter's called The Buck Stops Here. I think it's the first chapter.
Yeah, it's so good.
It says, one of the greatest areas in which we tend to pass the buck is where other people, events, or circumstances seem to keep us from doing what we want to do or being what we want to be. These are the times when we blame the government, our spouse, our employer, or the economy for our failures or shortcomings, yet this is not valid. Things, people, circumstances, and events do not affect you. What does affect you is your reaction or opinion of those things, people, circumstances, or events. And you either choose your reaction or you react out of a previously formed habit of thinking. But remember, you can change your thinking. You can form new habits. And one of the other illusions, you think like, I think that there's all these people watching me. I'm going to hurt their feelings. And if I practice it long enough, I'm going to attract people who are going to make it seem like it's even more real. But he says it's not true. So often it is said, she hurt my feelings, or I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. Yet, you cannot hurt someone else's feelings, nor can they hurt yours. They hurt their own feelings. They choose to react to your words and actions, and your feelings are hurt in exactly the same way by your chosen reaction. And this creative responsibility taps into the importance of recognizing how big of a part your imagination plays in your life experience. That's what I'm learning. Is that this morning, Darrell and I have been talking about this a lot, and it was awesome because I woke up at around 4 with this voice it's been fairly consistent, and it's very anxious, and it's telling me things. This morning, because I've been practicing this was the most sober moment, most like inspired moment I've had, which was I heard the voice, and instead of jumping out of bed, I thought, that's just my imagination. Well, like, why am I running from that? Because I have to retrain myself to realize the thing I'm running from is not what's out there. I've been running from my own Darrell said this yesterday. He's like, there's something about this, about like being, how our families can train us to be afraid of things that aren't even really happening. But I've had to retrain my consciousness to recognize that what I'm actually reacting to is my own imagination. So, because imagination influences, affects, and shapes everything, all of our experiences, our emotions. When we change our circumstances, when we change what we imagine, when we change what we imagine is going on, our body chemistry changes, our emotions lighten. So directing and redirecting our imagination is the key to healing and to living a life of following our inspired intuition, because like what we said is, the intuition is fully contained joy. It is coming from God. It does not it doesn't give me a compromised version of itself that it thinks I can handle right now. It's telling me, come on, Ed, you are whole and well now. It's like Wayne Manning was on the Patreon recently, and he told a story about Eric Butterworth helping a man work through some issue. And the man was feeling so good, and Eric Butterworth wrote down an affirmation personally for this man so that he could practice it and live this stuff. And so Eric Butterworth says that he saw the guy like a few weeks later, or however many weeks later, at a restaurant in town. And he was just looking amazing, like a whole new guy. And Eric Butterworth said, oh my God, I guess that affirmation I got you is really working. And the guy was like, for a moment said, he was uncomfortable. And then he said, I got to tell you the truth, Eric. I lost that piece of paper you wrote that affirmation on, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So I just started saying, hell, I'm well.
Yeah.
And that's what the sooner we can say, hell, I'm well, and stop spinning this imagined story. But we just have to I have to keep reconvincing myself that it's my imagination. And that imagination is a powerful thing, because when it gets on board with intuition and with God, really amazing things happen. And we all experience it all the time, but the more conscious of it we are, the better our lives flow.
Well, and we also have to remember, when we have an intuitive thought that seems too good to be true, we got to remind ourselves that that thought already comes with the solution for it is already here.
Yes.
And the only thing that now will keep it from manifesting is my imagination telling me it's got to be hard, or I got to wait till I'm older, or I'm too old.
Right.
That's the only thing. But if we just surrender to it, and that's what the word surrender, people, in 12-step groups, they get confused. What's the surrender?
Yeah.
The surrender means to surrender to your good conscience, to surrender to those intuitive thoughts and stop working against them.
And, and that's the humility piece too.
Yeah.
And just check yourself like I had to do, because this is not about being right about fear-based thinking. It's about being right that I can trust this divinely inspired. This is what turns us back into kids, because it's not like, I figured this all out. Now I'm right and I deserve. It's like, holy smokes, my intuition can be trusted.
Can be trusted.
Yeah, and so what I was gonna say is just be aware, like when Darrell suggested, get out of there. there was a part of me that was just like, how dare he, like, because that part of me, like, I'm coming to realize that part of me is really like prideful, wants to be right, and it's like, but I don't choose that anymore. I want to be joyful. I want to be healthy. I want to be right about surrendering, like you were saying,
Yes.
right about surrendering to this power.
There's so many things we could share because there's so many different things about it. One of them is, and that's why it's in the writing, you could read the description over and over because it's there, whether you're listening to this on a podcast app or watching it on YouTube. We always include the description about how most of the time we don't listen, or I don't listen to my intuitive nudge, which is allowing myself to be myself because I'm concerned about what other people will think about me if I do. Yes. But I got to remember, it's not what other people will think about me that holds me back. It's really, like Ed said, it's my imagination. It's what I'm thinking they will think about me. And there's a great little reading I got here, and this talks about, breaking free from situations we're in, and it could be a relationship or a job or whatever it is, and we now twist ourselves into a pretzel out of guilt or fear. We can't leave. Well, here's the thing that I've learned from my own experience, and it's universally true for anyone who's ever lived. When you leaving a bad situation does not mean you deserve to be punished. Whenever we leave something that we outgrew, a bad situation is just something we've outgrown. And I have to remind myself of that. But the tendency is this guilty feeling, well, I owe it to them to stay. It's really not that bad. And when I used to say that to Dugan, it's really not that bad, he would just be like, well, there's your answer.
Wow.
Not that bad is bad. It's just like a white lie is a lie. And
that's hitting home for me. Go ahead.
So listen to this, folks, because this is a trap I fall into, all of us do. And it's about leaving these relationships, whether it's a job or, keep in mind too, just a way we were taught to believe about life from a family, like a type of belief system we could change. One of the hardest things I'm reading now, it's from a book called A New Day, which is a meditation book, morning meditations. One of the hardest things for any of us to do is to end a relationship and move on. This can be true whether the tie is a romantic or with an employer, friend, or family member. For various reasons, we often remain in damaging relationships long after we realize it's time to move on. We may fear being alone. We may be unable or reluctant to face changes and the pain of letting go. Perhaps our sense of obligation to a person, place, or institution is based on guilt. For one reason or another, we feel we owe them. I've done that. Because of our improving self-worth, we're less willing to stay in unhealthy and damaging relationships these days. Well, I'll tell you what, my threshold for pain is so diminished now, and I'm so grateful that I just start feeling, it's like I got to get out of here. We believe we deserve better. We're learning to honestly evaluate our ties with others, putting aside rationalizations and looking at the reality. We try to focus on the way things are right now rather than how they used to be, or you never know what this could lead to, or how they could be in the future. They promised me a big pension if I suffer for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
What about, I believe in life after birth, not life after death.
Right.
We ask ourselves if the benefits of staying in the relationship outweigh the consequences of doing so. Although we may feel hooked into a situation because someone needs us, we have to also consider our own needs by asking, what's best for my well-being? That's the best way to frame it. Darrell, is this really good for your well-being? Because it's not personal. Then it's not like
That's right.
I can't BS myself. Is this
right.
good for my well-being? And I said to myself, I wrote in the margin, ask this to myself often, beginning with my thoughts and decisions I'm thinking of making.
Yes.
Even those things. Is this best for my well-being? And I wrote, before I choose, ask myself, what's best for my well-being? And at the end, it says, I'm unwilling to put up with damaging relationships and situations. I deserve better. And this isn't about these people are horrible or this institution is horrible. No, we outgrow things. I had a great time in high school because as crazy as it was away from my house. It was away from my father.
Right.
And he was so just unpredictably crazily mad. And I mean, it was like living with Tony Soprano.
Right.
So school was like going to Disneyland.
Right.
But I can't live in high school again, even though those memories feel good.
Right.
God is always on the road ahead.
Right.
It'd be silly if I was still creeping around at 63 at my old high school.
Totally.
Like, it's just like if kindergarten,
Yeah.
we had fun in kindergarten. Well, you can't stay in those little desks as a 50-year-old man, a 62-year-old man.
Yeah.
And that's how we have to look at these things. It helps us. I'm just saying this because this is what I do to help me look at these situations objectively. But we also, the good news is you practice this way of life, you're going to be surrounded by people who help push you through to your highest good when you start feeling these guilt things kick in.
Yeah.
Like I have Lori, and, when we were moving on and no longer going to have tenants, I was kind of feeling like, well, it's not that bad. And it is, pays the,
right.
It's extra income. And Lori was like, no. Think of how this feels.
Yeah.
Like having to be overly responsible. We don't need to do it. And then once I click into that, because that's the real me, I start going, yeah, you're right. We're going to have more than enough without a tenant. And we have the freedom and the luxury of enjoying, our properties the way we desire to enjoy them now at this stage in our life. But that's where having friends who keep kicking us upstairs. And we try to go, well, and we try to stack the rationalization like more than the truth.
Yeah, and if we feed all that crap into our imagination, it will tell us, it'll show us, okay, here's your output. Like they say, garbage in, garbage out, or gold in, gold out. And when we put good stuff in, is what I'm saying is like our imagination will reinforce the belief that we have to stay there if that's what we keep feeding it. I mean, it'll hurt, but we'll get numb to the pain, and then things will start breaking down and stuff, so.
Well, here's the best thing, folks.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the greatest news and the worst news that I have learned. When I don't follow my conscience, either through ignoring it or just outright opposing it, in opposition to it.
Right.
When I'm working in opposition to it, either because I'm trying to ignore it or justify, not listening to it.
Right.
I will suffer emotionally and physically.
Yeah.
Until I just surrender to it.
Yeah.
That's what we mean. That's what they mean in these 12 steps. Surrender. What does that mean? Surrender to nothing? Or, even in all these readings, surrender. It means surrender to God's will. I don't know what God's will is. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
You may not have called it God's will.
Right.
Most people call it, I had a feeling I shouldn't have done that.
Right.
I had a feeling I should have turned right instead of left.
Right.
So if your God is...
Or I always wanted to do that thing.
Yeah.
It was all, it was just, I just knew that was who I was. And
yeah, well, now we're saying you gotta life is too short not to say yes.
Yeah, join
To
Darrell
our
and
true
Ed, because
self.
we're living the same thing. We're
Yes.
always doing this in different areas of our lives. It
Yes.
never stops. And one of the other things you said in that reading was maybe think, like, when I think others need me to be something that I'm not in order for their benefit, That's not seeing the Christ in them. That's making like we're putting them in this needy position. So that's another thing we can pray and affirm. They are the Christ is in them. Whoever it is, whether it's your mom, your boss, some person you think of as your enemy, like you have this resentment. Just remember that we have to recondition our consciousness to remember that they have the same amount of God that we have.
Yeah.
That we are not some like special guys or special women or men or who are chosen to suffer for others. That is crap, but has often been woven in. We're talking about how the insanity that martyrs are saints and like. I mean, if you want to read some Emma Curtis Hopkins and like really get to the bottom of this metaphysical message, it is amazing.
Well, I like that you said this because we got to drive that home one more time because that helps me a lot.
Yeah.
When I'm thinking, well, they need me, I'm actually affirming these people are so lowly that they need me to help them. That means I'm constantly putting them in a negative light, which is a negative prayer. I'm affirming a negative for all of us, for them and me, and it's hell.
That's right.
So it helps me switch. No, I am praying. No, they're not going to be left astray.
That's right.
They're going to have more than enough. They're going to meet their good. That amazing coincidences are occurring all the time for them.
Yeah, me feeding into the sick lie is actually keeping them from their good also.
Yes.
You know, Emma, we got to get our friend Lisa on the air, but I just want to read a little bit from Fear Not, Messages of Assurance by Martha Smock. She says, you can start over.
Yes.
I just happened to read this today. You can start over. This is something we all want to believe and need to believe, and deep down, it is something we instinctively believe. There is something in us that even in the darkest night looks to the morning. But as much as we want to believe that we can start over, sometimes we listen to our fears and doubts, or we listen to the voices of cynicism and pessimism that would have us believe that there is no use in trying. Sometimes a person will say, it's too late to start over, I'm too old. It's not too late if we refuse to think it is. We are not too old if we refuse to think we are. This is where the starting over begins, in our thoughts. So she says, to start over implies beginning again in a better way. And we can always do that, any moment of any day. If we're on the wrong road, get off the road and figure out how to get on the right road. To start over implies beginning again in a better way. We start over when we let go of negative thoughts and feelings about ourselves, about life, and about others. You can start over, so never forget this. All right. Thank you, Patreon people. Deborah, you know her last name with an N?
Nave. I think that's it, how you pronounce it.
She said, false evidence appearing real reminds me of an acronym I learned a while back. TFAR.
TFAR.
TFAR. You have a thought, it creates a feeling, you take action and get a result. What a great show. So the key is like looking at the thought. And we got to be honest with ourselves to go, you know what? That thought is not anything I want to build my TFAR off of. So jump on the Patreon, patreon.com/funniest thing. The links are in the show descriptions. Circulate a little money toward the show. If it's blessing you, you'll feel a whole lot better. I guarantee. If you're feeling so tight that you don't have a few bucks, $5, whatever, even if you don't end up circulating it our way, reconsider like why are you holding on so tight? Because Darrell and I both tied to different things that we enjoy, and it's changed my life. We're never without.
And we keep the show going. Making up for we don't count on Patreon viewers.
Right.
We don't do this to earn money. We do this because we love it. But if you want to help keep the show commercial free, which we love to do, you're contributing to that, and it helps us continue to do it.
Yeah. You can send us things at Funniest Thing, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. Some reason this old Kirky postcard kept falling out of my book today. On the front it says, it is tempting to step into the trap.
That's the trap we're talking about, not being yourself.
Yeah, limiting thinking. And fearful thinking. And this is, I've been talking about Neville Goddard because he talks a lot about how the Father in the Bible actually refers to our own imagination. And Reverend Ike, you were telling me, talks about this. You cannot force anything outwardly by the mightiest efforts of the will. There's only one way you can command the things you want, and that is by assuming the consciousness of the things desired. And that's Neville Goddard. And that's why I've been listening to a lot of AI Joe Dispenza. And I'm not the real one.
The AI one is actually
A
better.
calm, soothing voice. I actually read one of the comments. They didn't know he was AI. They're like, "Wow, this is the first time his words have soothed me." And I was like, ah. So, but I like it because I pop it on YouTube, and it just reminds me. The goal is not to try; it's to trust.
Yes.
Trying is what's causing all the issues. Trusting inspires us to take inspired action, and everything goes well because we're on God's payroll, which was last week's show with Greg Brett. Jeff Spike said, work is a 4-letter word that ends in K, and some laughing emojis. Keep spreading the joy. Aisha Livingston said, Gregory was a minister at the Albuquerque church when I first started attending Unity. It became our home for 20 years.
Wow.
And Gregory was the one that really put that church back on its feet again. Thanks, Gregory, for following your divine urges, even if it didn't make sense. May we all do the same and bring blessings as you did.
Did you send that to him?
Oh, let's do that. Yeah.
We got to do that today.
And we want to thank the chief engineer, Jeff Comfort, out in Kansas City, Kansas.
Everybody loves Jeff Comfort.
And each week,
He takes us
right into the comfort zone.
And now for our 3 breaths.
All right. This is something to remember because we all just we sometimes need to give ourselves a shot in the arm. Yes. We need to give ourselves a shot in the arm to step out boldly because we hear the intuition. We have to jump on it and trust. And so when God says go, that's all we need to know. Let's take a deep breath. When God says go, that's all I need to know.
When God says go, that's all I need to know.
When God says go, that's all I need to know. All right, coming up next, Lisa Schmidt, backed by popular demand, motivates listeners to enjoy the freedom of being authentically themselves with today's reading free. Thank you for listening to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed, live from Middle School Studios in beautiful downtown Culver City, the heart of Screenland.
All right.
Well, you know what we need to do? All right, welcome.
Lisa Schmidt can turn on her mic and her camera. I'm going to be right back. Remember we went to that gallery show?
Yeah.
So look what I started.
Hi, Lisa.
Look what I started making.
Oh, wow, nice.
Do you see what happened?
Yeah. Keep it moving. Let's go. We gotta get on with this. I know. Bring it over here so you can share it. Got to keep on moving. Okay, you already did your. Yep. Okay, good. Darrell's very excited about some art he just made.
Oh.
So he's. Oh man, how we doing, Lisa? You good?
Good, absolutely. I am richly blessed and highly favored.
Yes. So are we. And that's why we're so happy you're here, man. When we thought about bringing you on, by the way, the YouTube people could see us, but this won't be on the audio podcast. But the YouTubers hang out on the break. But I was gonna say, lately I think the metrics by which we determine who will come on the show is the first thing is, do they just enjoy truth? Do they get happy about sharing truth, living truth? And so I have a list of this is a really classy organization. I do the guest list is just a note on my phone, and it's it goes back many or at least a few years. And so I saw your name on there, and I was like, oh yeah, Lisa Schmidt. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, and then Darrell, that was an instant yes. We typically know there's a certain feeling, the idea that we get, and that when it's like the right guest, and the right guests, we learned typically will say either yes, I can make it, or no, can you give me another date? But there's some that are, it just feels a little more challenging, and we're always like, all right, it's feeling like too much work. Not like a judgment of them, but it's just like, this doesn't feel like the right fit.
Right.
But you are the right fit.
Thank you.
You haven't been with us since we've been in out of the other studio, have you? Since we've been back here? Oh yeah. This is Darrell's art studio.
Oh, okay.
And when things changed, it was just such a blessing, and now it's just First of all, I live 15 minutes away, and rather than driving, for a lot further, and it's in this prayer conditioned creative space where Darrell creates art and teaches. So it's just like it's one of those things where God, like the universe, God kind of gave us, we call it the winning kick out of one situation, even though we didn't know that was going to happen, but we landed in like, oh, this is why, because it's like we came back to where the show really all started, and it's just like it's so much easier. I can surf now before the show. We do it at 1. Everything just like shifted for the better. So it's just further reinforcement that just go with it, because God has ways we know not of.
Yep. Yep.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. All right, everyone. Welcome back to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. Today's show is called Go For It, Nobody's Watching, with Lisa Schmidt. How are you, Lisa?
Hey, namaste, namaste. Yeah.
Namaskar, namaste.
I'm richly blessed and highly favored. I can't say that too much.
Yeah, one more time for that, so the viewers and listeners at home can write that down and use it for themselves.
I am richly blessed and highly favored.
I am richly blessed and highly favored. Oh man, that laugh is the thing. Number one thing, your joyful laugh is one of the first thing we thought of when we knew you were coming back on the show.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
What's that great?
The Holy Spirit did send me,
Yep,
Yeah.
that's true.
What's that great Fillmore quote I sent you? If our father is,
I'll pull it up in a minute.
it's so good. It
I'll
says
pull it
there's
up.
no reason to be stingy.
Yeah, I'll look for that. Well, let's while I ask Lisa to share any thoughts you have after hanging out in the green room for so long, listening to us share our side of the story. What do you got for us?
Well, when I first got your email, there was a very particular Course in Miracles lesson, since I'm your course person.
Yes.
That it just popped right into my head. And talking about intuition, I knew what the lesson was. I just didn't know what number it was or how to find it. I just remembered a little piece of it. And I was laying in bed the other night, and I'm like, Jesus, what was that thing you said about not accepting who you are as the son of God? I said, didn't you say it was like blasphemous or something? And the word, I couldn't get the word. And then I got real quiet, and it just kind of floated down. You know how your intuition thoughts just float down. It floated down and went arrogant. And I went, that's what it was. Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I went on the acm.org, and you can search through that, and I just typed in the word arrogant, and I found the lesson. So I do want to read the first 3 paragraphs
Yes.
of this. But before
Please.
I get into that, as you were talking, I was thinking about when you were talking about how it's all in our head. It's what we got to change our perception of things, how we think about things, because nobody can make us feel a certain way.
Yes.
It's us. It's our reactions, our perceptions, how we feel. So there were 4 friends and I watched a movie about, it was a Ram Dass thing, who's a spiritualist, and he was talking the exact same thing, how it's how we perceive things. And his face got real straight, and he went. So now anytime any of us are together and somebody's complaining about something, our faces get real straight and go,
You just point to your forehead.
it's all up here. It's
It's
all
all
up
up
here.
here.
Yeah.
Up in our heads.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a good tool.
That's our secret signal, is we just do this.
Mhm.
That's a great tool to get me to snap out of it.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
you're good. Right here. And the other thing is, I never heard about this until I became a Unity person, but a lot of Unity people say, it's none of my business what you think about me.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can think what you think. That's none of my business. I'm, only tied up in what I think about me. So,
It's funny. There was a book by the title, What You Think of Me Is None of My Business. When I was introduced to all this stuff, it was by a woman named Terry Cole Whitaker. And Mike Dugan used to say that all the time when I used to be worried about, well, what will they think about me if I do? He go, Darrell, what you think of me is none of my business. What they think of you is none of your business. You got to go with what's right for you.
Yeah.
And besides, I'm the one making up what I think they're going to think about me.
Right.
Most of the time, no one's thinking anything derogatory at all, if anything, about me. And every time I've followed through on these intuitive nudges, the people that I thought would judge me harshly seem to be so positive about it. And I'm like, what was I thinking? I was really making up terrible stories in my imagination.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I always have this Tommy Chong like voice in my head that says, don't let people rent space in your head, man.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yes.
I don't know why that came about, but it did. So, anyways, lesson 61 of Course in Miracles, for those
Yep.
of you who don't know, from this particular blue book is the Foundation for Inner Peace. Lesson 61 is I am the light of the world. So, who is the light of the world except God's Son? This, then, is merely a statement of the truth about yourself. It is the opposite of a statement of pride, of arrogance, or of self-deception. It does not describe the self-concept you have made. It does not refer to any of the characteristics with which you have endowed your idols. It refers to you as you were created by God. It simply states the truth. To the ego, today's idea is the epitome of self-glorification, but the ego does not understand humility, mistaking it for self-debasement. Humility consists of accepting your role in salvation and in taking no other. It is not humility to insist you cannot be the light of the world if that's the function God assigned to you. It's only arrogance that would assert this function cannot be for you, and arrogance is always of the ego. True humility requires that you accept today's idea because it is God's voice which tells you it's true. This is the beginning step in accepting your real function on earth. It is a giant stride towards taking your rightful place in salvation. It is a positive assertion of your right to be saved and an acknowledgement of the power that is given you to help save others. I
Yeah.
am the light of the world. It's my only function, and that is why I'm here.
Believing you're a miracle maker is the height of humility, not arrogance.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. That's perfect.
To believe that you're a miracle maker is the height of humility.
I love that arrogance can only come from the ego as well, because when I've been dropping the acronym FEAR as false evidence appearing real, and I also add rational. And what I'm finding is that voice is so insistent that it's right. It's so insistent that there can be no other way. It's so insistent. And that's how I know, as I train myself, that's how I know it's false, because it's so insistent. Whereas that Holy Spirit voice, that intuitive voice, is just like, take it or leave it. It feels good. It's all powerful. It's like, it's whole. It just feels lovely, but there's no arrogance to it. It's just like, all right, you can take it, do what you want with it, but this is what it is, and we love you, and we'll be, I'll be with you forever. I'll never let you down, never. It's just a matter of trusting it and reprogramming myself so that the good chemicals flow through my body. The neural pathways the gates are open for the inspiration to flow.
Yep. Yep. So the next time somebody gets mad at you and says, who do you think you are? God's gift to the world, you can say, well, yes, I am. Thank you.
Yes, I am.
That's a good
We
title.
all are. We all are. We just have to accept it,
Yeah.
God's
Well, there's
gift to
also
the
a
world.
great Ernest Holmes where he says in there, in the book, it's in Science of Mind, which is actually a collection of writings that were put together by somebody else of his. That's what makes up that big, giant, thick book. And we don't highly recommend the big, giant, thick book, reading it from cover to cover. We recommend just flipping it to a page, because every page is magical in its own way. And he says, we all have the power to raise the dead, but most of us don't believe it. We don't want to believe it. Most of us don't want to believe it. So it really is just accepting that. And you know how good it feels? Like, it naturally feels good to say, I'm a miracle maker. And that's the height of humility, is the believing that I'm a miracle maker. It just naturally feels good. And it awakens the true use, the true application of the words love and faith as verbs, not as like nouns. A lot of people, me included, I mistakenly thought love and faith were nouns, like these things.
Yes.
I didn't know. No, these are verbs, and they always have to be lived from within me and my consciousness as a verb. So saying that being a miracle maker, a gift from God, a light of the world, is the height of humility, activates love in me as a verb and faith in me as a verb, as joyful expectancy, and the love that all things will work out in a wonderful way, as I believe, because it's all love. Love is the harmonizing force of the universe. Love is what I am. And it feels so good, but sometimes we tell ourselves stories in spite of the fact that, wait a minute, this truth naturally feels so right. How could it be wrong?
Right.
And yet the other way of believing feels so bad, but some twisted thing in my mind got from how the world taught me or wherever I picked it up, that, well, then that must be true. Like if it feels bad, it's definitely true. If it feels good, you really can't trust it. But we're saying, no, just like Jesus and all these great other teachers say, you got to flip it, man. If it feels good, it is true. If it feels bad, it isn't true.
Yeah.
It's just like following our conscience. If it feels bad, don't go in that direction. Don't justify why you should go in that direction. Just don't go in that direction.
Yeah.
If it feels good, that's your conscience saying, hey, you're moving towards your prosperity, health, well-being, love, success, the real you. You can't lose in this way. No, I don't know. What if something doesn't work out? Now I'm back on the other side again. So it's constantly bringing, the practice, we've been repeating this, Lisa, from, what's his name? Raymond Charles Barker, that metaphysics is not for the faint of heart. Because even Darrell and Ed, I got to constantly bring snap myself out of it. No, Darrell, if it feels good, that's the right thing.
Oh man, the voice of arrogance within me, it comes out. It's like,
Yeah.
you're being irresponsible. You're doing this. Like, how dare you do this to me? And it's like, so it really takes a lot of like, okay, I'm taking the leap like a kid, And I was thinking about you saying raise the dead, and I was thinking how the dead, if a party's dead,
Yeah.
you can raise the dead, but if it's someone else's party, sometimes you just gotta let it happen. But if it's a party within myself, sometimes what can I do? I can put on some new music, get some balloons, some snacks, do a little dance. Like I can liven up the party within me. Yes, do something to raise the dead party, within me, and turn it life back into the party it's meant to be. Because if it's not that joyous party, there's parts of me that are holding on, and it will come through in like some sort of physical challenge or in finances, because it is meant to be a party, circulating energy, liveliness, the light unto the world. If it feels dark in my world, I'm the light, like you said. Turn the light on, Ed. Turn the light on. If it feels dark, turn the light on. I am the light. And you talking about Charles Fillmore. He said, the quote, I found it. You said, if all the Father has is yours, there's no need for skimping.
Yeah, if all the Father has is yours, there's no need for skimping. That feels so good to me.
Yeah. That's why we love these old metaphysicians, man. Like, you can just tell it's so practical. It's not to worship some outer altar, or like, it's an inner awakening, and that's the whole of it. That's all of it. It's practical. If I'm skimping, part of my mind needs to be awakened in here and see the good, awaken to the prosperity that's always present, and let it flow. and it will
And
grow.
you were mentioning, one of you was mentioning earlier Louise Hay, and we always get into the discussion of Louise Hay and mirror exercises, and
Yes.
I do that a lot, and we've talked about that. But one of the other, there's another lesson in the course that for that day you had to sit down and meditate and think of, because you're God's holy child, you were created in God's image, and that does not mean we were created as bodies. That's not true. God's spirit. We were created as spirit, as God's children, and we have His kingdom is ours. So the meditation for the day was, you just had to think of like adjectives, like kindness created me kind, love created me loving.
Yeah.
So, what I do if I can't sleep is, I mean, this is similar to Louise Hay, but I'm just not looking in a mirror, you know?
Yeah.
If I can't sleep and I'm just laying in bed, I'll go through the alphabet, like abundance created me abundant, and beauty created me beautiful, and carefree created me carefree, and and
Yeah.
I just go through the alphabet, justice created me just, and knowledge created me knowledgeable, and
Wow.
opulence created me opulent, and I just go through the whole alphabet, and I challenge myself to think of all the things that I am
That's
that
great.
God is, and it's a good way to study the course and remind yourself and not waste time while you're laying in bed. Not,
That is a metaphysical version of counting sheep. I love that.
I
yeah, there
I'm
you
love
gonna
go.
that.
use that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna definitely use that because for me, it's like when my mind's in a certain way, I've learned to just do something. I have to do something to shift it. I have to wake up a little bit enough. I have to wake up enough to do something because what if I can release whatever's holding and keeping me awake in a way that you're describing? I'll sleep. I go to bed just feeling divine. I love that feeling. When I fall back to sleep, I mean, of lightness. If I wake up with
Mhm.
some tension or something, I love that feeling when it just lets go and oh my God, all is well. And then when I wake up the next time in the morning, at least I feel that lightness. It's such a
Yeah.
wonderful feeling. Like this way of living is so friggin' delightful. I
It
highly recommend
is.
it.
It is. Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
like you got to remind yourself. You got to be be
Yeah.
vigilant only for God and His kingdom, because you can get sucked in the other direction very easily, And
yeah,
I tell the people in my class, when I teach my course class, I'm always reminding them, you just have to stay in that vigilance for God, because you go off in that other direction. You have to stop yourself, you have to catch yourself, and you have to.
yeah.
The first time I saw you guys, your message was flip the script, and that's always stuck in my head. Flip the
Mm,
script.
Yeah.
yeah,
And but you have
yeah,
to be vigilant. You have to
yeah.
constantly be monitoring, and
Right.
we're all human. It's not easy.
No. Well, and now I think it's getting more difficult because, I mean, the temptation to go in the other direction instead of helping myself stay in the healthier direction, only because I was thinking about this similar to the analogy with, paintings from the other eras of time. You see people doing things in public, feeding pigeons or, boating or playing a guitar. But now, if there was impressionist painters, it'd be everyone walking in different directions or sitting or, at a bench, but they'd all be looking at their phones. And I started going, whoa, I allow myself to be voluntarily hypnotized on a regular basis. I choose it with my phone, with what I'm watching, because it really sucks you in because it's moving picture with sound and talk. And
Yeah.
so I was reminding myself, Darrell, when you were first introduced to this stuff, it was maybe a little bit easier to not get distracted because nobody had the inclination to walk around all day reading a magazine or a newspaper. People just didn't do that. You would read the newspaper in the morning or maybe on the train, but people weren't walking around with a book in front of their face. I wasn't walking around with the newspaper all day.
A small TV.
Yeah, I couldn't watch the news all day. It was purposely withheld from me only because technology,
Yeah.
technology wasn't there. So most of the day, you know, it was easier to remain in this healthy attitude and smile at people. And people were more inclined to smile back because they're not looking at their phones or carrying a newspaper.
Right.
So now it really takes mindfulness on my part to choose. I mean, I really have to be conscious. What am I allowing myself to be hypnotized with? Because it's so easy to get pulled into that surface nonsense of the world when I look at my phone. And sometimes I tell myself, Lisa, so many times I go, I could read the title of the YouTube video and my mind goes, there's a part of me that it's like a snack I shouldn't have. Like, it's like this weird, like I go, Darrell, you know, if you watch this, you're not going to feel really good. Now I could watch this one. It won't hurt me. Click. And then afterwards, I go, why did I watch that?
Right. Like, how many minutes can I watch before I get sick, or how many seconds, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I totally hear that. I wanted to say we had Sue Hodgson, Barbara Weatherman, Lois Conklin, Grace Deathridge, people from all over the globe out there. Thank you for joining us on the YouTube. We're glad you're with us. And they said, actually, Grace D just said hello from the UK. Great to be with you all. Thank you for another great show. Lois wanted to let us know she's here with us. Hi, guys. Hello from Canada, from Sue Hodgson. We're so glad you guys are all here.
Yeah.
Are you teaching in person nowadays, Lisa Schmidt, or do you do it online, or how do you do
We
it?
do it through Zoom. Yeah, we're on vacation now because it's Memorial Day weekend, and between Memorial Day and Labor Day, us Michiganders celebrate summer. You know, we wait all year for these 3 months, so
Yeah,
we don't want to be on the schedule. So,
I see. Is there
but
can
yep,
people from elsewhere join
absolutely,
that, or do they have to be a member
absolutely.
of your church? And how do they do that? I could put it in the description.
They can just go to unitylansing.org,
UnityLansing.org.
and then there's a link for classes. I forget what it actually says, classes and seminars or something like that. But if you click on that link, it opens up all the classes that they offer, and I'm in there.
Oh, that would be great because I'm sure a lot of our listeners are interested. And I can say, you know, if you're not familiar with the Course in Miracles, Lisa, in my opinion, is the best personality to learn the Course in Miracles from because you know what it is? We were just talking about it. It's because we know you live it. We know you do it. So you're able to share it in a way that's so practical and easy to grasp. You know, so I highly recommend anyone who has not had an introduction to the Course in Miracles to check it out. And even if you have in the past and you want to refresh your, knowledge on it and practice, because it's just another great tool.
Yeah.
It is a great tool. I was introduced to it early on by David McClure at Unity Church in Honolulu. And I love it. And that's another book now that I don't, read it in order like the lessons when I first got it. Now it's more of, I let, what do you call that? Chance.
Yeah.
And it's always exactly what I need to read.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I also like it too. If you get like their simple affirmations in there that have no wiggle room, meaning it somehow gets my mind to take responsibility and accept the truth. And they're just boom, right on the point.
Mm-hmm.
Right on point every time.
Always. It's amazing.
There's one I use all the time. Especially in traffic. And I remember myself, fear condemns and love heals, or fear condemns and love forgives.
And that includes ourselves.
I use that all the time. Like, okay, I'm just in fear. I'm going to send love now.
Yeah.
Or, I'm condemning this person. That's fear. I'm going to love.
Yeah.
Love heals, fear condemns.
That's awesome.
That's
great. Do you want to read the reading that we sent you,
Oh.
Lisa?
Sure. Yeah, and like just a reminder that we're all one. So if you're condemning something outside yourself, you're condemning yourself.
Yes.
You're
Yeah.
projecting your insecurities out into the world,
Mm.
Oh,
but it's coming back at you because we're all one.
Yeah,
So
I,
what you think
totally.
you're throwing out there, you're just stuffing it back in that way.
That also, by the way, is I wanted to point out, like if you're a teacher yourself or you want to be teaching this, or you just want to wonder why it's like you don't always have success with sharing this stuff. The thing that really works is what Lisa did. She shared what she really uses.
yes.
Because sometimes that egoic kind of arrogant part will push the truth out of the way and say that doesn't sound good enough. That doesn't sound. But if we just share simply what works for us and connecting with what Lisa just said, we're all the same. So it's so much more profound when I share what works for me because I am you and like you hear
Yes.
yourself. There's just something I just want to share that because it's something that makes this show so much easier for us. And Greg
Yeah.
said it last week. We don't make the show or the sermon or the talk bigger than us. Like we're the ones who are here. God's working through us, and so once we get started, the floodgates just open, and we just share. It just made I got because both of us are performers. I play music. Darrell's been an actor and all sorts of things. We both, an artist, and it's like when I never want to. Like at a certain point, I realized I don't want to be someone who's trying to play a role for the rest of my life. I want to be me for a living.
Yeah.
Whatever I'm doing up there, I just want. It's so much easier when we're just being ourselves for a living.
Yeah.
That ties into the show.
Yep. All right. Free by Anonymous. I am free to be authentically myself. When Jesus returned to his hometown, people were excited by news of his miracles until his message wasn't to their liking. Isn't that so true? They turned against him. Like Jesus, I am free to keep moving toward desperate criticism. Or excuse me, I'm going to start that again. Like Jesus, I am free to keep moving forward despite criticism and even rejection. If others' opinions threaten me, I stay focused on spiritual truth and the presence of God within and around me. I am a child of the divine and let go of any thoughts of unworthiness. Freed from others' expectations, I move forward with confidence, no longer burdened by my self-doubt or fear of being unprepared. I trust my words and actions are guided by divine wisdom. With renewed energy and purpose, I spring forth to accomplish all that's mine to do. And then he quotes from Luke 4:18, He has sent me to proclaim release to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to let the oppressed go free. Yay.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
oppressed is I'm oppressing myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Release, I'm releasing myself.
Yep.
Yep. We're converting our own thoughts, our own subconscious to get on board.
Yes.
Ah. All right. Well, this is wonderful. Is there anything else you wanted to share before we wrap up at the show?
I don't believe so. I'm just so honored that you thought of me. I'm just so grateful that I can be on the stage like this and share.
Well,
It's amazing to see your
Well-
ministry continue. And
Thank you.
remember getting the email when you were feeling called to teach, and look at you now. It's amazing.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so awesome. We are very blessed that you said yes, because now we get to reap the benefit of everything that you're sharing.
Yes.
And it is medicinal stuff, music to our ears. So we did find a story
Yes.
in the Lansing, one of the local Lansing rags.
Yes. It was a little gossip piece about something you experienced up there in Lansing.
Oh, great.
It says Lisa Schmidt saw a sign in front of a house, talking dog for sale. She rang the bell, and the owner told her that the dog was in the backyard and that Lisa was welcome to meet him. Lisa walked to the backyard and saw the dog resting. She approached him.
You talk?
The mutt replied.
Yep.
Lisa couldn't believe it.
So what's your story?
The dog looked up and said,
Well, I discovered my gift of talking pretty young, and I wanted to help the government. So I told the CIA about my gift, and in no time they had me jetting from country to country, sitting in rooms with spies and world leaders, because no one figured a dog would be eavesdropping. I was one of their most valuable spies 8 years running. The jet setting around really tired me out, and I knew I wasn't getting younger, and I wanted to settle down. So I signed up for a job at the airport to do some undercover security work. I uncovered some incredible dealings there and was awarded a batch of medals. Had a wife, a mess of puppies, and now I'm retired.
Lisa was amazed. She asked the owner what he wanted for the dog, and the owner told Lisa.
$10.
Lisa said,
This dog is amazing. Why on earth are you selling him so cheap?
the owner replied,
He's just a big liar. He didn't do any of that stuff.
well, thank you all for being a part of Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. Thank you, Lisa Schmidt, for joining us. Thanks for that great story. We want to thank you all for being a part of Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. Please subscribe, share the show with your friends. Most of all, we want to thank you for letting us be ourselves again. Thank you for letting me be myself again. One more time. Thank you for letting me be myself again. All right.
The Family Stone.
We did it.
Yes.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right. Yeah, thank you again. You guys have a great day.
You too. You are amazing. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. God bless you.
We're
Bye.
gonna watch the Tigers tonight.
Oh,
Oh, nice.
all
Have
right.
fun.
Go Tigers.
Bye, everyone.